Caitlin Clark's mother gets kicked out of upscale store. What she does next will inspire millions. The March sun shone brightly over the streets of Des Moines, Iowa, as Clark walked down the downtown sidewalks. At 52, she had dedicated her entire life to supporting her daughter Caitlin's dreams, and today was one of those special days. They were going to buy a dress for college graduation, and wore her best outfit. A navy blue blouse she'd bought 5 years ago and well-maintained black pants. Her shoes, though clean and polished, showed signs of wear. She had saved for months for this moment, putting aside every penny to give her daughter the graduation of her dreams. "Mom, are you sure about the store?" asked Caitlin, looking at the elegant facade of Elegance Boutique. With its gleaming windows and mannequins wearing clothes that seemed to cost more than Anne's monthly salary. "You deserve the best, sweetheart," replied Anne, taking a deep breath. "You've worked so hard, excelled so much in basketball. Today is about you." The glass doors opened automatically, revealing an interior that looked like it came straight out of a luxury magazine. The marble floor gleamed under crystal chandelier light, and the air carried a subtle, expensive perfume, and felt a knot in her stomach but kept her head high. The saleswoman, a blonde woman about 30 wearing an impeccable designer suit, looked Anne and Caitlin up and down. Her name, Madison, was engraved on a golden nameplate on her blazer. "May I help you?" asked Madison, with a tone that sounded more like a question about what they were doing there. "We're looking for a graduation dress," said Anne, trying to keep her voice steady. "Something elegant for my daughter." Madison paused, her eyes reassessing Anne's clothes. "Our dresses start at $2,000. Are you sure you're in the right store?" Anne's face turned red, but she took a deep breath. "Yes, we're in the right store. I'd like to see some options, please." Reluctantly, Madison guided them to a section with stunning dresses. Caitlin, sensing the tension in the air, gently touched her mother's arm. "Mom, maybe we should." "No," whispered Anne. "You deserve to be here as much as anyone else." While Caitlin tried on a navy blue dress that brought out her eyes and noticed other customers in the store, well-dressed women carrying designer handbags, being served with genuine smiles and champagne. The contrast was stark. "This dress looks beautiful on you," said Anne to Caitlin, who emerged from the fitting room radiant. Madison approached, checking tags and taking notes. "This model costs $3,500, plus tax," and swallowed hard. It was much more than she had saved, but looking at Caitlin, her daughter who had worked so hard, who had excelled academically and in sports, she nodded. Can we discuss payment options?" Madison's smile completely disappeared. "Ma'am, this is a luxury boutique, not a department store. We require full payment at the time of purchase." "I understand," said Anne, her voice trembling slightly. "I have $500 now, and I can pay the rest in 2 weeks. My daughter graduated with honors and received a full scholarship. I just want her to have a beautiful dress for." "I'm sorry, but that's not possible," interrupted Madison, her voice getting louder. "And frankly, if you can't afford our products, perhaps you should look for stores more suited to your budget." Silence fell over the section. Other customers began to stare, some whispering among themselves, and felt heat rising from her neck to her face. "Mom, let's go," murmured Caitlin, clearly embarrassed. But Madison wasn't finished. "Actually," she said, speaking loudly enough for the entire store to hear, "I need to ask you to leave. You're disturbing our other customers." The world seemed to stop for Anne. She looked around the store, seeing the looks of pity, contempt, and embarrassment from the other patrons. Her hands trembled, but she managed to maintain her dignity. "Come on, Caitlin," she said calmly. taking her daughter's hand. As they walked toward the exit, and heard Madison say to a colleague, "Some people just don't know their place." Outside the store, under Iowa's hot sun, and finally let the tears fall. Caitlin hugged her tight, and mother and daughter stood there for a moment, processing the humiliation they had just experienced. "Mom, it doesn't matter. We can find a beautiful dress somewhere else," said Caitlin, trying to console her, and wiped away her tears and looked at the boutique's bright facade. Something was changing inside her. It wasn't just sadness or anger, but a determination she hadn't felt in years. "You know, Caitlin," she said, her voice gaining strength, "maybe this happened for a reason. Subscribe to the channel to follow what happens next in this inspiring story of resilience and determination." 3 days had passed since the incident at the boutique, and couldn't get that moment out of her head. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Madison's words again. Some people just don't know their place. It was Thursday morning, and Anne was sitting in the kitchen of her modest home, drinking coffee and looking through the window at the backyard where Caitlin used to practice basketball when she was younger. The house wasn't big 3 bedrooms in a working-class neighborhood, but it had always been a home full of love and dreams. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was her sister Sarah, calling from Cedar Rapids. "And Caitlin told me what happened at the boutique. I'm so furious. How dare that woman?" Sarah, and interrupted gently, "I'm not angry anymore." "You're not angry? And they humiliated you and Caitlin publicly," and stood up and began walking around the kitchen, a strange energy coursing through her veins. "I'm thinking, how many other mothers went through what I went through? How many working families are treated like they don't belong in elegant places simply because they don't have enough money? Many, I'm sure, but what if I could do something about it? What if I could create a place where all mothers felt welcome?" Sarah fell silent on the other end of the line. "And what are you thinking?" Before she could answer, Caitlin entered the kitchen, dressed for practice. Even after everything, she still maintained her rigorous routine preparing for the professional season. "Mom, are you okay?" asked Caitlin, noticing the intense expression on his face, and hung up the phone and turned to her daughter. "Caitlin, sit here with me. I want to talk to you about something." They sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Anne had helped Caitlin with homework for years, where they had planned basketball strategies and talked about dreams and fears. "What happened at the boutique made me think," began Anne. "For years, I worked jobs that barely paid the bills, always putting your needs before mine. I never pursued my own dreams because I was too busy supporting yours." "Mom, you don't need to." "Let me finish," said Anne, taking her daughter's hands. "I'm not complaining. Doing that for you was the best decision of my life. But now that you're graduating, that you're following your own path, maybe it's time for me to follow mine." Caitlin tilted her head, curious. "What kind of path?" and took a deep breath. "I want to open my own boutique, a place where mothers like me can find beautiful, elegant clothes at fair prices. A place where no one is judged by the clothes they wear or the car they drive." Caitlin's eyes widened. "Mom, that's amazing. But how?" "I don't know exactly yet," admitted Anne. "I don't have much money. I don't have experience in high-end retail. But I have something that boutique didn't have. I know what it's like to be on the other side. I know what it's like to save every penny to give something special to someone you love." And got up and went to a kitchen drawer, from which she took out an old notebook and a pen. "I'm going to start by doing some research. I'll figure out how other people manage to open their own businesses." "But Mom, you'll need startup capital, suppliers, a location." "I know," said Anne, starting to write in the notebook. "But you know what? If I could raise a daughter who became one of the best college basketball players in the country, working 2 jobs and never giving up, I think I can figure out how to open a store." Caitlin smiled, recognizing the familiar determination her mother had always had. "What can I do to help? For now, keep being amazing. Focus on your career. But," and stopped writing and looked at her daughter, "your graduation is coming up. What if, instead of buying an expensive dress, we both did something different? Like what? What if we went to a thrift store, found a beautiful dress, and I learned how to alter it? It could be our first project together." Caitlin laughed. "Mom, you don't even know how to sew." "Not yet," said Anne with a smile. "But I can learn. And you know what? I bet there are many other mothers out there who would like to learn too." That afternoon, Anne went to the Des Moines Public Library. She spent hours researching small businesses, entrepreneurship, and the fashion industry. She discovered stories of people who started with almost nothing and built empires. She read about cooperatives, crowdfunding, how the internet had democratized access to information and opportunities. In the evening, when she returned home, she found Caitlin in the living room with her laptop. "Mom, look at this," said Caitlin, turning the screen toward Anne. "I found an article about a woman in Portland who started a boutique focused on working mothers. She started selling clothes from her car trunk and sat next to her daughter and read the story. It was about Maria Santos, a Mexican immigrant who had faced similar discrimination and decided to create her own solution. 5 years later, she had 3 stores and employed 20 people. If she could do it, murmured Anne, maybe I can too. Leave a comment telling us if you believe and we'll be able to realize her dream. 2 weeks later, Anne stood in the middle of a small empty commercial space on Ingersoll Avenue, one of Des Moines' revitalizing streets. The location had been a laundromat for decades and still faintly smelled of detergent and humidity. The walls needed paint, the wooden floor was worn, and there was a leak in the back ceiling. "Are you sure about this, Mom?" asked Caitlin, looking around skeptically. "No," replied Anne honestly, "but sometimes certainty is a luxury we can't afford." The landlord, Mr. Henderson, a 70-year-old man with thick glasses, waited patiently while Anne walked through the space, visualizing possibilities. "The location is good," he said. "Lots of foot traffic, especially on weekends. And I'm willing to work with someone who's starting out," and had learned a lot in the past few weeks. After reading countless articles and watching online videos about entrepreneurship, she had created a basic business plan. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. "Mr. Henderson," said Anne, "I can pay 3 months' rent in advance, but I'd need your help with some basic renovations. In exchange, I can offer a small percentage of the first year's profits." The elderly man smiled. "You know, my wife always dreamed of having a boutique. She died 5 years ago, but I think she'd like the idea of seeing another woman pursuing that dream here." While they discussed details, Anne's phone rang. It was Sarah, her sister. "And you need to see this," said Sarah, clearly agitated. "I'm sending you a link right now." And opened the link on her phone and saw a TikTok video. It was a young woman about 20, sitting in her room, telling her own story of discrimination at an expensive store. "My mom works double shifts to give me a good education," the girl said in the video. "And when we went to buy a dress for my graduation, the saleswoman treated us like we were criminals. Why is the money my mom earned honestly worth less than someone else's?" The video had over 500,000 views and thousands of comments from people sharing similar experiences. "Mom, look at this," said Caitlin, showing her own phone. "People are posting about discrimination in luxury stores all over the country. It's like our experience opened floodgates." And read some comments and felt a lump in her throat. There were hundreds of women telling stories almost identical to hers. working mothers being treated with contempt, honest families being judged by their appearance or socioeconomic background. "Mr. Henderson," said Anne, putting away her phone, "I accept your terms. When can I start?" The next 2 months were a roller coaster of challenges and small victories. Anne worked part-time at her old job and spent afternoons and weekends renovating the store. She learned to use tools she had never touched, painted walls until her hands ached, and spent nights studying suppliers and inventory management. Caitlin, between practices and university commitments, helped whenever she could. They turned the store renovation into a family project, documenting progress in videos that Caitlin posted on social media. "Day 23 of renovation," Caitlin said in one of the videos, filming and installing a shelf. "My mom just discovered you can't drill concrete with a regular drill. We're learning together." The videos started gaining traction. People from across the country began following Anne's journey, offering advice, encouragement, and even small donations to help with initial costs. One day, while Anne was organizing what would be the fitting room area, a woman knocked on the store door. "Sorry to bother you," said the woman, a black woman about 60. "I'm Carol Washington. I saw your videos online. I'm a retired seamstress and would like to offer my help." "Your help?" asked Anne, confused. "I worked 40 years altering clothes. If you really want to create a place where all mothers feel welcome, you'll need someone who knows how to make off-the-rack clothing fit perfectly on any body," and felt tears in her eyes. "I can't pay much." "Honey," Carol laughed, "I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I believe in what you're trying to build." In the following weeks, Carol became more than an employee. She became a mentor and friend. She taught Anne the secrets of altering clothes, how to identify quality fabrics, and how to make any woman feel beautiful, regardless of size or body shape. "Clothes don't make the woman," Carol used to say while working. "Confidence does. Our job is to help each customer find theirs." 2 weeks before the official opening, Anne received an unexpected call. "Mrs. Clark, this is Rebecca Martinez from KCCI News. We'd like to do a story about your new boutique." "A story?" asked Anne, surprised. "Your story is circulating on social media. People are curious about the mother who turned a discrimination experience into a business opportunity." On the night of the interview, Anne was nervous. She had spent the entire day organizing the store, which was now unrecognizable. The walls were painted in soft shades of blue and white. There were strategically positioned mirrors for the best lighting, and Carol had created a cozy alterations area in the back. "Tell us about the inspiration for Every Mother's Boutique," asked Rebecca, the reporter, and took a deep breath. "The inspiration came from a painful moment, but one that taught me something important. Every mother deserves to feel special, deserves to find beautiful clothes for important occasions, and deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of how much money she has in her bank account." "And what's your boutique's differentiator?" "Our prices are fair, but more important than that, our attitude is fair," replied Anne. "Here, a mother who works in cleaning is treated with the same respect as an executive. Because at the end of the day, we're all doing the best we can for our families." The interview aired 3 days later, and the impact was immediate. The store phone rang all day with people wanting to know about the opening date, products, and how to support the business. Don't miss the next chapter to discover how Anne's boutique opening changes not only her life, but inspires a national movement. The day of the official opening arrived on a cold May morning, and woke up at 5:30 a.m., her hands trembling not from nervousness, but from an energy she hadn't felt in decades. She looked out the window and saw a small but steady line of people waiting outside Every Mother's Boutique. "Mom, are you seeing this?" shouted Caitlin from the living room, where she was checking social media. People have been posting photos of the line in front of the store since 6 a.m. and dressed carefully, choosing a simple but elegant outfit that Carol had helped alter perfectly for her body. Looking at herself in the mirror, she saw a different woman from the one who had been humiliated 2 months ago. Her eyes sparkled with purpose. At 9 a.m. sharp, and opened the boutique doors. The first customer was a young Latina mother with a 3-year-old child in her arms. "I'm Elena," said the woman timidly. "I saw your interview on TV. I need a dress for my sister's wedding." But nothing," interrupted Anne with a warm smile. "Let's find something beautiful for you. Carol, can you come here?" In the first 5 minutes, Anne realized she had created something special. Carol measured Elena for alterations while and played with the child, and other customers in the store offered opinions and encouragement. The atmosphere was completely different from any store Anne had ever visited. During the morning, a steady stream of women entered the boutique. There were teachers, nurses, single mothers, college students, elderly women, a diversity that reflected the real community of Des Moines. Around noon, Anne noticed commotion outside. Through the window, she saw a news van parking. Rebecca Martinez got out of the vehicle with a camera crew. "Mrs. Clark," said Rebecca when she entered the store, "this is a national story now. We've received calls from mothers across the country wanting to know how to replicate what you've done here." "National?" asked Anne, confused. Caitlin approached with her laptop. "Mom, you need to see this. Your store opening video has 3 million views. And there's something else." She turned the screen to show a CNN article, "From Humiliation to Inspiration: How an Iowa Mother is Changing the National Conversation About Dignity in Retail." "It's not just about your store," explained Caitlin. "Women across the country are starting their own boutiques focused on working mothers. There's one in Phoenix, another in Atlanta, 3 in California." And sat in a chair processing the information. In just 2 months, her personal experience had transformed into a movement. "Mrs. Clark," said a voice behind her, and turned and saw a well-dressed woman, about 40, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Yes, I'm Jennifer Madison," said the woman, and immediately recognized the last name. "I'm regional manager for Elegance Boutique. I came personally to apologize for the treatment you and your daughter received at our store." Silence filled the boutique. All the customers stopped to listen. "Additionally," continued Jennifer, "we fired the employee responsible for the incident and implemented mandatory training on respectful customer service for our entire team. We would also like to make a donation to your boutique." And looked at the woman for a long moment. "Ms. Madison, I appreciate your apology and it's reassuring to know you're making changes. But I don't need your donation." Jennifer looked surprised. "You don't need it?" "No," said Anne, standing up. "What I need is for you to understand that dignity isn't something you buy or sell. It's something every person deserves, regardless of the size of their bank account." And paused, looking around the store full of women of all ages and backgrounds. "If you really want to make a difference, treat every customer who enters your store like they're the most important person in the world. Because for someone who saves for months to buy something special, they really are." Jennifer nodded, visibly moved by Anne's words. "You're absolutely right. Thank you for the lesson." As the afternoon progressed, the boutique received unexpected customers. Some were prominent women from the community who heard about the store and came to support it. Others were mothers who had driven hours from small Iowa towns, wanting to be part of something bigger. Carol was busy in the back doing alterations, while Anne served customers and Caitlin managed social media, responding to messages from women across the country wanting advice on how to open their own boutiques. At the end of the day, when the last customers left, and Caitlin, and Carol sat among the shelves, exhausted but euphoric. "Mom," said Caitlin, "you know you can't personally help all the women who want to open their own stores, right?" And smiled. "I know, but maybe we can create something online. Virtual workshops, a step-by-step guide, a community where mom entrepreneurs can support each other." "A movement," said Carol thoughtfully. "You really started a movement." 3 months later, and was sitting in her kitchen, the same one where she had decided to open the boutique. But now she was answering emails from women in 27 states who had opened their own versions of Every Mother's Boutique. The movement had grown beyond her wildest expectations. Her phone rang. It was an unknown number with a New York area code. "Mrs. Clark? This is Sarah Chun from Good Morning America. We'd like to invite you for a national interview about the movement you started." And looked out the kitchen window, where Caitlin was in the backyard talking with a group of young neighborhood mothers who had volunteered to help with a new project, a mobile boutique that would visit rural Iowa communities. "Ms. Chun," said Anne, "I'm honored by the invitation. But before I accept, you need to understand something. This isn't about me. It's about all the mothers who were made to feel small and decided they were bigger than that." "That's exactly why we want to talk with you," replied Sarah. "You turned a moment of pain into a movement of hope." After the call, and went out to the backyard where Caitlin was explaining to the other mothers how to use social media to promote small businesses. "How was the day at the store?" asked Caitlin. "Good," said Anne. "But you know what was better? I got a message from a mother in Alabama. She opened her boutique last month and said that for the first time in her life, she feels truly proud of what she does." And looked around the backyard, seeing these young women full of dreams and determination, and realized she had created something much bigger than a simple store. She had created a community, a movement that validated the dignity of all working mothers. "You know, Caitlin," said Anne, "when that saleswoman told me I didn't know my place, she was right in a way. I really didn't know. But now I do. And what is it?" And smiled, looking at the women around her, thinking about the hundreds of others scattered across the country who were pursuing their own dreams inspired by her story. "My place is wherever I can help other mothers discover theirs." The movement started by in Clark continued to grow, transforming not only the lives of thousands of women, but changing the national conversation about dignity, respect, and the value of honest work. Her story proves that sometimes the most painful moments can become the fuel for the most inspiring changes. Leave your comment telling us which part of Anne's story inspired you most, and share it with other mothers who need to hear this message of hope and empowerment.